police officer blowing a woman's head off?
Yep. I would definitely blame them for.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dismal. Dismal, you're the first person that I'm going to say this to. The first person I'm going to say this to is that if you were to donate to John, I would reject those campaign funds. We don't want your money.
I don't want to contribute.
We don't want your funds. You don't believe in protecting women.
You're not at risk.
Shameful, Dismal. Shameful. Shameful. I like to consider myself a gentleman. I've served as an officer in our Grand Republican Army, and I've met men who I would say are not necessarily gentlemen, and I've met some ladies who I would also say are not quite ladies. But Dismal, I asked you earlier how you find peace, and you said you picked strawberries. Well, Marshall, I'm just wondering if maybe you could help arbitrate. Was Ashley Babbitt murdered?
Was she murdered? She was killed. I don't know if she was murdered.
You didn't see the video of her getting her head blown off?
I did. The murder is something that you plan.
It didn't look like murder to you?
He's talking about men's Freya.
Yeah, let's go.
You mean a patriotic American who felt that she was being cheated and went there for some political redress, who went through a window getting crushed by a crowd, and she got her head blown off by a cop who got anxiety? You didn't think that was murder?
No, again, murder requires in the world legal intent, right? That's why it won't be appropriately described as a gunshot. Do you think when he shot her, he was intending to help her?
He is raising plaintiff men's Freya, which wasn't something that could be constituted based on any situation that would have happened.
So,
I think more positive outcomes would have happened if he wouldn't have shot her in the face. Obviously.
oh, okay, good. I'm glad we can at least agree on that. I was just wondering how you define murder, but now that we know how you define murder, it makes sense to me that, Marshall, Mojo is going to use his Marriott Bon Voyage points and put himself up in a fantastic hotels in Central Illinois, probably Rockford, Peoria. We're wondering if you'd like to fly out to Illinois, paid for by the campaign, to help train door knockers and campaign volunteers for the campaign to elect John Kitover.
Yeah, it's good if it's paid for, I'll go, sure.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't be so dismal. We need Marshall's campaign experience. He's got a wealth of knowledge and experience to share.
I'm gonna be just sorry.
Dismal, what I'm saying is young volunteers for this campaign who are unsure of their government and the $37 trillion of debt, when they meet Marshall in that training room, they're going to feel that they are talking to a man who has 20 years of experience talking to thousands of voters and activating large audiences.
Maybe you should run it as a district, but I don't agree with you're proposing, and I hope he doesn't join you.
That's okay, Dismal. Like you just said, if it's all paid for, he's willing to go. He's never been to Chicago before.
Roger is in Washington State, so he isn't.
Yeah, but Dismal, I live next to O'Hare Airport. I can pick up all campaign volunteers, and Mojo and this campaign fund that we are generating here now has over $1,000 in it. That can buy a lot of experience for this campaign and a lot of forward momentum and activity. So Dismal, your dismal outlook is not appreciated, and thank you very little. But I would still love for you to get $10 to this campaign right now.
Thank you very much. Interesting quote. You're not even covering much.
Obviously, you don't know the movie Fletch with Chevy Chase, but that's okay. I don't think you know a lot, and I don't think you've ever been in a situation where you consulted presidents. But I don't know. It's just my opinion.
I need more of a bonus.
Hey, I don't think I'm winning the French first.
Well, listen.
Yes, you are. We love you. I love your voice. You're such a ASMR voice, Dismal.
Dismal, listen, I guarantee there's at least
was what I shared. And I will stick by that. I think if you stand on principles, it's more challenging to be
Okay, so here's one of the principles that I stand on. I don't believe that innocent women should be shot in the face.
I don't think that I also I would agree with that, but I also think like if you look at the cause, like why was she there in the first place? That's problematic. And so she was part of who he made to land.
Well, let's say she was tricked to show up, and let's say that she was there for all the wrong reasons.
I think
And it's time for the head on her shoulders.
I think it's important to look at why was she there in the first place, and like looking at the core.
And maybe if she was interested in civics and she thought that the election was important and she loved her country, who knows?
Yeah, and that's potentially plans.
Okay, well, listen, I have to get to bed soon. I'm probably going to stay logged in, and you guys will see my PTO work. I don't even care if it's $1. Can we just get one more donation before I go to sleep so I can have
I would question people like donate to doctors and doctors,
Well, that's fine. Just,
not to work.
just, well, how about this? How about tomorrow? Well, we can't do it tomorrow. How about on Friday? You come in the room. We'll put a title of Doctors Without Borders, and you can pitch why people should donate to Doctors Without Borders. But tonight, in the next couple of minutes, can you just ask the people that are in this room on the stage that are in the audience to me? We can't do this. Why not?
Just don't. Like it's
Yeah, you've got my attention now. You said something interesting. What antic would I not support?
is recording people with something which is like literally violating the terms and conditions, not only this application, but also YouTube.
Did you know that the community leader of Clubhouse was in this room earlier and he followed me? I followed him back and we're talking about. He and I had broke up for a little while after I had like a temper tantrum and went to chatter, but it looks like he and I are friends again.
Just tell him that they're like literally like pick up the new account and I don't think that means anything actually.
Well, no, but he
Not impressed.
he heard very clearly, and he's the community leader here in Clubhouse, that these rooms are being streamed. In fact, I would argue that the founders of this app have decided that they want people to share these rooms. It's because it might attract more people to the app. What do you think of that theory?
Do you want my like frank perspective on this? Like,
Sure, we might disagree. I mean, we disagreed on the fact that a young woman shouldn't have had her head blown off, but maybe you have a different perspective here.
I literally think that, we're suffering this unfortunate crisis of people just deciding that broken. And that's unfortunate
Well, here's the
from my
thing.
perspective.
So John Kitover also believes it's broken, and so my question is, do you love it enough to help John save it?
I think he, I'm going to be fair. I think he expressed a couple of, really good ideas. And
So is that
I
like
would
$1 or
actually-
$2? Is it like $2 worth of support or
not,
$4?
I don't fund campaigns, as a principle. I just don't.
Oh, so you don't put your money behind the things you believe in?
I do, but I do it in charitable donation.
Financing a campaign is more.
So how is he supposed to compete with the billions of dollars that the Republican Party funds for these people that'll get into office and take taxpayer dollars, squander them, and then borrow money that adds to a debt that will never get paid off? Well, whose side are you on, Dismal?
Whose side that proposes like a binary?
Are you on the people's side? Because John's for the people.
But I think that proposes like a binary option, and I think if you're holistic and you look at and investigate like the root cause of some of the turmoil that we face, you would find yourself more in a centrist position, and that's where I am.
Okay, but what's the centrist position then, Dismal?
To not give money to things they believe in?
And not give money to political campaigns that are just going to waste the money for your advertisements, and those are shitty. Like, why would you want to donate that when you can donate to like Doctors Without Borders and somebody can actually like get medical treatment? That would be like a positive donation.
See, I just want to let you know, Dismal, that I'm creating a YouTube short right now, and I will run this conversation as an advertisement in the district. And I want to thank you personally for being a part of the campaign to elect John Kitover. Even if you can't give $1 or $10 or $1,000, your voice, your personality, this conversation will be used in the campaign illicitly, according to Dismal, but I say explicitly, according to candidate campaign John Kitover for Congress in the 16th district.
And I'm going to use this as an armor to actually attack you then.
Some of it in the chat, but I would never give them a fucking dime. They have absolutely the most, it's embarrassing how they claim neutrality, but they completely ignored anything to do with Israeli victims that were demonized. They ignored the victims. They erased the massive war crimes of Hamas. They were claiming that that a hospital was bombed when they had no evidence whatsoever. In fact, it went into a parking lot.
They literally
like a completely horrible organization, and there's so much evidence
counting and
by Israel
showing creating this.
I know exactly what I'm talking about. I read about them all the time, and I see these fake testimonies by people that they put out on social media. It's absolutely never ever recommend anyone to give that organization a dime. It's completely biased. There's no question. That's not even like a gray area. That's very clear. They're completely biased.
It literally, the organization
literally
itself
horrible.
Isn't. No, and they do provide like good accounting.
For Hamas. Tell me what they've done for Israeli hostages or Israeli victims. They specifically will ignore.
They're speaking about one issue, and this is a global organization.
Yeah, this global organization that claims impartiality absolutely ignored victims, completely demonized the country after they were brutally attacked. Horrible organization.
Atrocious.
Never would support them.
Dismally despicable.
Sorry, guys.
It's a global organization.
Yeah, I'm very aware what they are. They're also completely politically biased, totally woke left bias, and in this situation,
this is like
they're ignoring
here's this
victims of brutality.
Wonderful positive mojo vibration. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Be of good courage, fellow Clubhouse brothers and sisters, and he shall strengthen your heart. all you who hope in the Lord. Know that wisdom is such to your soul. If you find it, there will be a future, and your hope will not be cut off. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. Against such things there is no law. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Be happy, yes, leap for joy, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. Anyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Oh, that's the good one. That's going to be the campaign motto. Acts number 35. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Fought evil and darkness and sick science and insanity in Europe and Germany. Without that great man, this world would have been plunged into darkness. And I gotta say, without Donald John Trump and J.D. Vance, I think America would have also been plunged into chaotic clown world darkness. And I say root for the team that you're on, and fork it over for Kitover. Make a $10 donation to the campaign to elect John Kitover right now. Click that link above if you've enjoyed that brief little ASMR reading to help put you sweet little beautiful angels to sleep. I hope you enjoyed it. Go to johnforcongress.com or click that link above. Tom Anderson says this guy is insane. Apparently, he doesn't like good ASMR. Did anybody here enjoy the Bible flashcard ASMR experience? Sorry, what was that next? I didn't see who said it, but Mojo seems to be a police. Stood at attention to taps, but this is what taps sounds like. But that is the memorial taps. I think there's a letter penned to it from the Confederate War, but they do that in the military. I think it's in all branches, but that's the way to say, time to go to bed. This is called the Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4th, 1776. When in the course of human events, of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation, and the decision to vote to the campaign to elect John Kitover in the positive mojo vibration and much appreciated donations room. Your help and support or $1,000 if you're enjoying this historical ASMR experience. Are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed,
that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem to be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid clubhouse world. He has refused his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other right inestimable to them, and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long ever, tu- ever turned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their. He has created a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to the acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He has nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fail themselves by their hands. He has excited demand whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose charter is thus marked by inattentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by the legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of Congress and General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on that our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor Okay, I hope you enjoyed that reading of the Declaration of Independence. It's a pretty intense document. Um, if you enjoyed that reading, consider giving $10 to the campaign.
That's probably a good game, but I've never heard that before. That was, yeah, it was.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. What did you think about it?
Well, I thought how beautifully it was written, and it sounded like you sounded like a British person reciting it actually, and the use of the language, but obviously there have been influences at the time. But you'd have to reread it a couple of times to actually get the full, because obviously we're not used to that language now, are we?
Well, they must have sounded like that when they wrote it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, no, for sure. But it's not. It's not what we hear now. It's from a completely different era. Um, but yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, thanks for reading it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see a lot of like, um, people say that's unconstitutional or anti-constitutional. It's like there's a lot of things you could say that are anti-Declaration of Independence. I mean, it seems like they're violating the way that the government acts now. It seems like they're violating a lot of the reasons why they declared independence in the first place. So I think the quote is why
Well,
should
that is something that you does spring to mind. I mean, I don't know enough about it because obviously I'm from the UK, but
I mean, you can ask. I can ask Grok, ask Grok to for the
well,
contradictions.
I think one of the things is obviously is that was done in a period of time, and it's what principles that is trying to encapsulate and secure um, as a basis of government that are no longer applicable. Um, you know, and that's the thing with having a constitution that's so clearly written out and has amendments and all the things that you guys hold so dear. Yeah, because therein it's hard, but by definition, amendment would indicate some degree of flexibility. And obviously we haven't got a constitution like that. We have a common law, we have legislation, and we have common law, which defines how you interpret legislation or what have you, and there's more flexibility in that. But I'm not having
These positive mojo vibration experiences that I've been recording and live streaming. My YouTube account, how many videos I've been recording over the past couple weeks, and a lot of great conversations, a lot of great crash outs, typical clubhouse stuff going on.
He's going to stand for election.
Yeah, in the
Sorry.
16th district of Illinois.
Okay. Are you standing as an independent, or are you standing
No, Republican.
like the Republicans or Democrats?
Republican, yeah. This is Abraham Lincoln territory. If you don't run as a Republican in Illinois, you just don't understand Illinois history.
Okay, so you can forget it. Yeah. Representatives or the Senate or.
Yeah, representatives, congressman, federal congressman, 16th district.
Have you got much chance?
I,
I remember now because just before I left earlier on, you're standing against obviously a Republican candidate who's been elected by the party, and you're. How does that work then?
it goes through. In March, there's a primary. They decide at the primary who.
Right. So you're standing against the other guy in the primary, and then go from there.
Yeah, we're working on signatures and organizing for that laborious task. What's interesting about the declaration is, there is something in there. I wanted to call it out that they make it overly burdensome with papers and judicial and all this stuff. It's very much the same way with ballot access here in this country, as Marshall, I'm sure, can tell you about crazy ballot access stories and how difficult it is for independents or people from outside the clique to get the required signatures, let alone go through an unscrupulous process of disqualifying signatures and then follow-up court examinations. It's my Chicago political experience was amazing. I met characters. I met all kinds of people who you would never meet in your entire life. Meeting people who work and control and manipulate politics, and there's a lot of ego and a lot of wasted time and stupid people who don't know how to grow organizations, or they want to control organizations, or they that's the one thing that amazes me about life is I think, oh man, I want to maximize the growth of this business or organization. But not a lot of people think that way.
No. And then they get in the way because, hang on a second, no. It doesn't work like that. It works this way for us, and we don't want to change. It's a change also, isn't it? But we have the same in the UK. if I wanted to stand for a party, I'd have to go in front of the local committee for that party, and they've probably been in that position as committee members for God knows how many years, and I come along and I want to make change. No, that's not easy. Not at all.
Okay, so I want to propose that we do a hard out. I'm going to hard out of here in 17 minutes. Thank you all for
Okay.
any remaining conversation. We're at 16 minutes till I leave the campaign and the positive mojo vibrations. But everybody else here is, you can chill and stay. I think Mojo said he's going to sleep. But, it's been a lot of fun here on Clown House today. I feel like it was another rock out, baseball game day, and maximize the day of campaigning here on Clown House and across multiple media platforms. Okay, Simon, I wanted to share with you a campaign poem inspired by this great man in my photo.
Okay, please.
This is called Vote John Kitover and click the link above. There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 and 1 and 1 and 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will, corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs, enhance hour after hour thy vigilance. Intense and keen, turned inward miss no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong, slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one overpowered time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is, yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart, I leave thee here. Thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rolls far, O brothers of the clubhouse star.
He was a wordsmith. What a man.
Sorry, what did you say, Simon?
What a man. What a linguist. What a wordsmith.
It's kind of funny. Think about his name, Wins Tough. Wins a ton of times. It's great. It's a great neural linguistic program. Wins Tough. I don't know, it's just a problem I like. If you like that promo, consider sending 10 out of 11, 10 out of $9 to the campaigns without John Kitover and enhance your positive mojo experience. And thanks for listening. It's been a long day here on Clubhouse. Look at how many comments there are in this room. Don't you decide whether that 1,800,000 people have left comments in this room? You know, it's a shame that it's not on replay. It would be great if it was on replay. There's a lot of content here that just burns up in the Clubhouse.
You see how many comments people don't fucking know. Because we're in the chat. Not that it really matters.
It's in the lower left hand corner. If you can't skip it, just can't skip it.
Yeah, I don't think I can see it. So I've got an old phone. So that's why I looked. The name I had was my first. What the poll was that the Chisholm was the political correctness.
I don't know that I fell out, but I think in the walkout they won.
Yeah, in my class. Anyway, good luck, my friend. How much have you raised so far?
$550 now. I'm going to match $550 somewhere in the middle of
Hey, cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good forward momentum. You know, I was trying to get into this X space today where there are people who are involved in local politics that do have connections, and people do look at their accounts, but they would not bring you up on their stage today. But they did feature another person running for office, so they may be curating their space. But there's a lot of people that carry grudges, and if you are connected, associated, or attached, or perceived as being, you know, connected with people that they really do not like or hate, um, you know, it is a little click, and people want to control their dopamine experience. So, you know, this is kind of an artistic campaign, and hopefully we can have some, you know, social media virality and large impressions on some, you know, content. Um, I'm not, you know, I'm not. I like to be controversial, but I also, you know, do not want. I don't know. I mean, I think talking about $37 trillion is controversial enough. I don't know how much more controversial you need to get than just talk about the national debt. So, but you know, it's gonna be fun, and it's August now, so I've got a couple more months to get all these signatures.
Well, you've got a hot topic in which you're standing on, because it is like, you know, we're all the West countries are in ridiculous debt, but I don't actually know how much ours is, but it might not be quite, it won't be as much as yours, but relative to our size as a nation and our GDP, yeah, we're all in the shit, really. But my politics is I'm green, but I'm the Green Party not because so much of the environmental, but it's the only party in the UK that believes in taxing wealth and not labour. So I'm for, and I've got my own business, and I'm, you know, relatively successful, and you know, actually in a good place, but I think we need to tax the wealth because you know.
They also don't know what a woman is.
Oh, I do. I've had a few.
Well, apparently the Green Party doesn't. So go here.
Oh, well, you've got idiots in every party, to be honest. So I don't, you know.
Well, they had a shit show in Scotland, so I mean, definitely not a party I would subscribe to.
Yeah, well, as I said, there are no party's got like the monopoly on good policies and the right thinking. So you have to sort through all the shit and idiocy that every party shows and has, and work through what you think is the most important thing for the world and for our country to go forward. For me, bearing in mind I built my wealth on capitalism, I think it's fundamentally flawed and rigged. And I think that the difference between the rich and the poor is as big as it's ever been, and it's not sustainable.
I agree with you, but redistribution is a different matter. It's got nothing to do with all the bullshit of gender identity that the Green Party is pushing forward in its agenda. So, I mean,
that's why they, but I think all parties shoot themselves in the foot. Yeah, because they're too uptight.
Italian, but I lived in UK for a long time, and I was married to a British person, and my children, two of my children are living in the UK, and I'm seriously concerned about UK at the moment. It seems like it's going down. The politics was bad until I saw what's going on in the UK at the moment.
What about it, do you think? Because I'm not so pessimistic. Because we have.
For a start, okay, the government, Keir Starmer seems to not. The Labour Party definitely wouldn't represent me, and Jeremy Corbyn's new party is a joke. Come on, let's face it, is a joke. And the only thing that it's going to do, it's stealing votes from the areas in UK where you have a high concentration of certain ethnic minorities, and stealing votes from the Labour, so allowing probably Conservative or Reform Party to win. And I think that it's like shooting your foot, basically.
Yeah, well, I at this stage I don't take Jeremy Corbyn into. I think he's a fabulous parliamentarian. So he obviously was excluded from the Labour Party, but still won his seat in Islington, and that's because he has a lot of people who believe in him as their member of parliament, not about what party he represents. So obviously he's gone on now to create a party, but I don't take that seriously. And Labour, as we knew it back in before Blair, because the fact that Margaret Thatcher, was so successful, whatever you think of her, she was, that dragged
all the bad things that I can think of. Somebody that ruined the planet, basically. Yeah, go on.
Well, but as I said, you can think what you want about her, but the reality was, because she was so successful in elections, she dragged Labour from the left wing with like Michael Foot and.
I'm an old lady. I remember that time, and I remember that the world changed during that time. It was the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War, so that the entire planet shifted position. I mean, all the left parties, including the left in my country, that was heavily financed by Russia, they just had to either change or disappear. They changed and they became more Blairite, if you want to call it, but they forgot to be the party that was representing a certain categories of people. They focused normal workers and to concentrate on civil rights, which of course we're all for civil rights. We're all anti-homophobic, we're all anti-racist, and so on and so forth. But who's going to take care of the people
that are actually working at minimum wage and cannot sustain a lifestyle in any of the big major cities in the world. I mean, nobody is caring about them. And this is my personal fight, at least in Italy. My party has done exactly the same that Labour Party has done. My party, I'm saying the party that I used to vote. Um, and I don't think I will vote them anymore. By the way, I mean, anytime, which I understand in this
Yeah,
kind of
zero-hour contracts that you're not working for.
exactly. So disfranchised from any political party if nobody is trying to sort their financial situation. People are in debt. People are getting poorer and poorer. So I mean, it's obvious that people are not interested in politics if they're not if nobody is willing to take on this task to promote a more equal.
100% agree with. Yeah, and I could sit back and what do I care? I'm wealthy and my life's okay, blah blah blah. But it doesn't work like that because I have one daughter who's a teacher. Yeah, and I look at what she has to deal with. Is that parents have stopped parenting? That's another thing that happens. So she not only has to be a teacher, but she almost has to be a parent as well.
Look, I am a teacher as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's got to do with this society that is basically destroying the basics of families. I mean, yes, it's most of the time it's the parents. I wouldn't say fault, but inability to control their own children. And so on. But it's also the fact that a lot of these parents are in very badly paid jobs. They cannot afford to guarantee the minimum. I mean, I remember once upon a time back in the 70s when I was very very young. Um, there was a pride to being working class. I remember. I mean, I used to go to UK very often, even as a very young person, and I remember working class areas, where everything was neat and tidy, and people took pride of being working class. I went back to Aberdeen about 2 years ago, and I couldn't recognize it. And Aberdeen was an extremely rich city, if you remember. I mean, it was, the oil capital of Europe.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But the oil price went down, and all the major companies shifted, and they left Aberdeen. This meant obviously that the rich left and the poor remained. And Aberdeen is basically a boarded up city. There is nothing, no shops, no nothing, nothing. It was so sad, and I saw a lot of youngsters delinquencies. I mean, I was at the train station because I was going back to Edinburgh, and a bunch of young people with nothing to do, fighting. I mean, it was just like living in a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and the other thing, I mean, because my two elder daughters, I've lived in London, but I don't anymore. We came out of London, but they live in London now, and without parental help, they wouldn't have been able to buy
Oh yeah.
flat. No chance on their salaries would they have been able to save up.
Well, my son is living in Surrey, but he's got a very high paid job, and he can afford to live there. But in normal circumstances, it would be impossible. I mean, where he lives in Surrey, I mean, houses go for a minimum of £1 million or
Oh
something.
yeah, that's just. I mean, but in London, you're talking. If you're going to get a two-bedroom flat in London, wherever it is, you're talking 300 to 500,000 for a flat. Yeah.
And if you rent, it's even worse because landlords don't give a fuck. Sorry, pardon my.
No, you're right.
Don't give
You can't get a mortgage with your salary, but you're having to pay rent that's more than the mortgage if you'd have been able to get one, which is just a joke. Yeah, so there's loads of. I don't actually. I do go, oh, it can't continue like this. But because what happens is when the middle class sell their properties to fund their retirement, which is also now what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
They downsize, sell your house in London, move out of London, and you've got some money that you can live off because we haven't got a big enough pension. Yeah, that's the scenario now.
That's another issue. Yes, I know.
So all these, it's just, and those properties get gobbled up by when I say the rich, I'm well aware of the fact. I'm not going to be a hypocrite, but the economics of it is they buy up the properties and they turn into landlords charging extortionate rent. So the concept of a middle class and a working class just is now, it's not the same.
No, I know.
Economics of it.
You get segregated in areas. If you cannot afford a decent accommodation in the UK, you're segregated in areas with high violence, drug smuggling, and so on and so forth. You don't want to raise a family there,
But the funny thing is, you could, and this is another thing about the UK, the imbalance between north and south. So I'm from Leeds, which is in the north. That was my home.
I could tell from your accent.
Can you? Okay. So and so I went down like everybody does after you graduate, you go to London to get your job as a lawyer. That was my qualification training. But that in itself shows the price of love, and I just can't see how middle class. Whereas where I now live, in a place called Peak District just outside Derbyshire, you have a chance. So at some point, I can't see how it will continue as it is. I know, but there's a massive issue in London as well.
Yes, and this is another thing that I blame the left for. I do understand that people want to emigrate. I consider myself an immigrant, but I came to UK as a married person, but I was an immigrant. I was. And I've lived most of my life abroad as well because my ex-husband was working in the oil industry, so we lived in India, we lived in many, many places. And not wanting to consider illegal immigration as a problem is stupid, to say the least. It's irresponsible. Immigration is a factor and needs to be considered. How do we want immigration to be tackled by the politicians? Is it a problem, or we want to sweep it under the carpet? What I believe, sorry, I just wanted to finish this. If we want to consider it as a non-problem and sweeping it under the carpet, you will see the rise of the left, the far-right movements that will listen to the concerns of people. Sorry.
Which is obviously what we're seeing happening with reform. Yeah. I think part of the issue is, we have a set of laws about dealing with illegal immigrants. Go through a process because we think that's fair. Give them a chance. They may have a justifiable right to come here.
at the moment, Giorgia Meloni, who is not a person I would have voted for, and I don't think this centers in with an agreement with Albania to get at least the process of of finding out whether these people have legal rights to come to Italy or not. A lot of them don't, because most of them are coming from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and don't have any legal rights to come to Italy because it's not a dangerous place. I mean, we don't consider Pakistan as a place where people are in danger unless they're Christians or homosexual.
Do they come on a lot of Asian people living in the UK? And they came when we wanted them to come, yeah? And what happens now, and I don't really understand clearly enough, is that they have a right to bring family members over. Well, hang on a second, that wasn't part of the deal as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, you're here, it doesn't mean you can bring, your
auntie and your grandfather.
But then it's complicated because then on the other side of it, our NHS, the care system, that is where most of the legal migrants go, and that's like 300,000. It's not a small amount of people because that they're lowly paid jobs, and the British person doesn't seem, they doesn't want to do that. So when people say we don't need them, well, it's a bit like in the States. There is quite a high percentage of illegal immigrants that are in work. They're getting paid. The employer's just turning a blind eye, and he needs some cheap.
Yeah, but I mean, as a left person, I think you are as well. If you pay more, people don't have any problems doing any of these jobs. I mean, I don't know anybody, at least in my environment in Italy, that wouldn't do, a cleaner's job if they were paid a decent wage. There's nobody. I mean, job is not something to be ashamed of. I personally wouldn't mind either if I had the need to and I was paid a decent salary. I wouldn't have any problems waiting tables. It's a job. The problem comes when you trade these jobs for legal and pay them under the minimum wage. I mean, if you pay somebody €2 an hour to pick tomatoes, come on. I mean, at the end of the day, you got your job done and you paid the person like what, €400 a month. This is ridiculous. This is not acceptable by any human standard.
But what makes it workable is that person will live in a house with people like them who come over here, got a job, earning what they send the money back, but they're not living a life. They're just using it as a means to earn money, and they are compromising on a life that. The reason I know this is because I had a friend who ran a company that found staff for car wash. Car wash is really so easy.
Yeah. It's the same across here. Yeah.
Yeah. So he used to get 8 guys to work the car wash. He'd find them a house. They were.
Yeah, but this is unacceptable.
But
for any standard.
It's not real, is it? Because a British person, no. They might do that for a year, get money, and then send it back, whatever, then they go back home. And there was one guy who told me that he managed to get enough money to work there for a couple of years and bought a house in Romania, where he'd come from. So it was a means to an end. Whereas a British person, that's just not going to happen, is it? So you're completely right. So the salaries.
Yeah, because it's pushing the salaries down. I mean, there is no incentive to an employer to raise the salaries in order to encourage people to come and work for them if they can get cheap labor. I mean, we're going back to the 18th centuries, when the first the industrial revolution started, and people could get fired from a factory if they were protesting for low salaries because the
What do you think
Yeah,
that?
but look what happened to the Italian car company Fiat. They transferred, they closed basically everything in Italy. There's almost nothing. It's still considered an Italian company, still gets money from the Italian government, but they transferred their legal what is it called?
Yeah, the entity,
Yeah, the entity in Holland. And why Holland as part of the European Union? Because unfortunately Italy is still part of the European Union. Doesn't have, has become a tax haven for companies around Europe. That's not acceptable. I mean, if we are a unity, so called, we should have more or less the same taxation. And the same happens with Ireland. Ireland is another tax haven.
Oh, yeah, no, it pisses me off because I do business here and I pay tax here. Yeah, whether it's the company paying tax, whether it's my personal tax, and then these large organisations, yeah, go and park themselves in Ireland, or it's just not acceptable to me. So that's part of it, and the other part is look, the wealthier too, and because the argument is, yeah, you don't disincentivize the entrepreneur because he's the person who creates the jobs and the wealth of the nation. So don't disincentivize it by taxing them too much. Well, there's too much and there is not enough. And where is that point? Yeah, I to disincentivize. I build a business because I'm motivated by that idea, and I know that if I do well, I'll earn more and have more freedom than if I was in a and I've been in a paid job as a director, and no, I wanted to do so, but I never put it down to an amount of money that I needed to earn in order to be motivated. So I think that's, but for me, that's not true, and that's bullshit. But
I completely agree with you. In the Western world, the better we will be all, the better off we will all be. But again, it's a problem of distribution, and this huge mega company that have no incentive on, having people on regular salaries. They're obviously encouraged to take any loophole they can to obviously, at least they pay minimum amount of taxes across here. But the workers for Amazon are paid less than any normal worker because they're, first of all, they're encouraged to be self-employed, which is bullshit. I mean, there are people working on a regular job. They should be paid by the company. No, they're supposed to have their own companies, paying their own taxes, and Amazon pays peanuts. I mean, what is what is going on here?
well, my opinion is that doesn't work long term. It's not sustainable.
I hope.
I mean, I'm not a dramatic person, but if you think about it, the situations like this that I read, I think this may have been a dramatic overstatement, but it was like sort of like it was in the French Revolution back in that is it was in the 1700s, I don't know, and so it becomes potentially a revolutionary.
Well, I can tell you something even more enlightening. I like to read about economy. I'm not an economist, but I studied economy. Situations like that arose during the golden age. I mean, before the Black October, and this opened the door to the First World War. Okay, no, not exactly the First World War, because it was a little bit later than that, but the Second World War with massive inflation that hit Europe, specifically
keep Germany. I mean, I'm not considering also the treaties that were extremely burden that was an extreme burden on the German economy. The treaties of the First World War. But I mean, any situation where you have an economic crisis.
किसी बात करवा लिए Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi guys.
Can you mute yourself? We can hear too many people talking on the back.
Are you discussing about something important? Mute. Go ahead. I'm listening. Well, mute first. There we go.
So, economic situation, where they can determine the stability of a society. This is an historical fact, and so this is quite a tricky moment for all of us, considering that also we have two war. Although we're not personally involved, directly involved, we're still involved, and this is causing a lot of economic problems within our countries. I don't know. I mean, I'm not so optimistic as you are, Simon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's probably more a reflection of my nature than reality. But hey, yeah, I don't know.
I will ask asylum to
Well, actually, you know what it is?
Australia.